Hello and good morning and welcome to the morning after World Cup. Has less of a ring to it and not really a joke. But hey, here we are. This is brought to you by ASKTGC, India's leading digital insurance company. My name is Ian Higgins. Sam Perry is across the land. Pezzy lad, good morning to you, sir.
A very, very good morning to you. Here goes. What an elated feeling it is to be sitting here in West Footscray after Australia have really stamped their foot on this World Cup with a comprehensive, nearly broken victory over South Africa. My family and I cock a hoop this morning as we woke and just let it sink in that Australia are here at the tournament, and they're going to be a force to be reckoned with.
That's right, Pez. Australia, they chased, as I said last night, a historic 119 against South Africa. And then, of course, England did the business against the West Indies in an absolute pumping. They chased down 55 in the end, a wonderful chase of 55 runs. I think there's about 20 overs of cricket played in that game. So I'm sure the 15 fans are there got their money back, which is the most important thing because all this game is about economics. Looking forward to the mega auction. Now, of course, Pez, this is the very first day of the World Cup proper. I know it's been going for a week, but if you're new here, feel free to click subscribe. We'll be doing coverage all the way through the World Cup as we hit, we'll probably hit 100k subscribers as we move forward. Now, Pez, the games last night, it was all going on. Let me put it to you in grade terms, though.
Yes, that's all I want.
Fuck me, I'm hungover. And that's how I know it's cricket season. The team is back, baby.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I wasn't really drinking last night. Like, if anyone detected any slurring on my part, that's just fatigue. Just young kids and stuff like that. Haven't really. I'm like a truck driver, just going up the road there, up the highway. But no, mate, it was so much fun last night covering that. And I think the hangover, for various reasons, for us is well deserved, particularly coming out of lockdown as well. And didn't Papi just ice it? Is there anyone you'd much prefer to ice a game than Papi? Ice cold, finishing that off. Indeed. The little flick of the wrist, just flapping that bat around. Thanks, Papi.
Well, we'll get to that in a moment's time. Pez, the first thing, let's get into the Australia-South Africa game in the first instance. You said it last night, Hazelwood is an elite bush horse. What a performance that was with the ball for the Aussies.
Yeah, it was a great performance, and I wonder if it lost a little bit of luster given it turned out that it was just a really difficult wicket to bat on, but he's so hard to play, especially on tricky two-pace wickets, just metronomic, hitting the areas. He just confers so much safety. And I think the elite bush horse analogy stands up. He goes, I mean, he's a wild Brumby, not a wild feral Brumby, but a wild Brumby who'd be, as at home in the Queen's stables as he would be in the Snowy Mountains, the scene of Banjo Patterson's Man from Snowy River. And wild Brumbies actually can get 18 erections a day. Did you know that? And stallions, and they can mate two to three times a day, and they can mate much more in the wild rather than in the close quarters of the breeding grounds.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I know you've been reading recently. So 2 for 19 off 4 for the elite bush horse. Maxwell also opening the bowling, which is an interesting one for Australia. I think now we learnt a new terminology last night. Well, I certainly did anyway, and you brought the information. They were trying to get some chop out overs, and they ended up bowling Maxwell for 4 overs. I think he went for 24. Maybe got 1 for. He got Bavuma early in his second over, but I think the last ball of his fourth over went for 4, didn't it? Fuck, I don't really remember anything that happened last night, which is probably for a good thing. And it's a good thing we didn't record it or anyone saved those videos online, especially post-stream. But yeah, Maxwell did the business, and then I think Cummins was 1 for 17 or 4, Zampa 2 for. I mean, no one bowled badly. Stark was the least good bowler, I thought, but it was just a really good bowling performance. But yeah, it seems that in the context of the first day's play at the T20 World Cup, it's like, maybe these aren't going to be all like 150 plus scores. Maybe it is going to be a bit of a low scoring T20 World Cup. Yeah,
I hope not. In terms of the Aussie bowling, they've all finished with pretty good figures, haven't they? That's what happens when a team hits 115. But I think the thing that I liked about it was the departure from Scorcher's ball. They went with 7 bats, 4 bowlers, and there just seemed to be a real element of creativity to the way they went about their business in a way that's not what we're used to in Australian cricket. Everything is very conventional. We know what to expect. It's the three safe quicks, and then you bowl your spinners in the middle, and then you bring the quicks on at the end. But they use Maxwell for a chop out over. They end up keeping him on. They didn't bowl Stark back to back either. They then changed to Cummins, and I just felt like they were a step ahead of the game at all times. And the other thing that was really pleasing from an Australian point of view was the fielding. And, it is a really old cliche, but fielding is an attitude thing. It's a good reflector of a team's attitude when they are stopping balls on the boundary, when they're hitting the stumps, even if there's no run out or whatever. I feel like there was a bunch of direct hits as well. So Australia have their shit together, which we weren't expecting, to be honest, but fair play to them.
Yeah. Now, speaking of 19 erections a day, I think I got 17 of mine in the batting innings of Australia, particularly the last 3 overs of that innings. And let's get into the second thing, Pez, which is STOINIS says, and he does, what he said he was going to do. That doesn't make any sense, but you understand what I'm saying. He said he wanted to be the best finisher in the world, and hey, here we are. He finished the game. He won a game for Australia, and I feel like it's been a minute for Stoin, for the bit Stoin. It's trending upwards because... he's just won that game. I think he's finished, I've got it written down, he finished with 24 of 16. And in the context of, I know the other game didn't actually have nothing to do with Australia, but hardly anyone went better than a run of ball in the entire match. I think Smith finished 35 of 34. I think Markram did something similar, but to come in and to get 24 of 16 in those conditions when the run rate for the match is under 6 and over is a remarkable thing that I didn't see coming, but that's what he's trying to do. He wants to be the best finisher in the world, and fuck me, he did it, and he made me hard.
And that's all you can do, and that's the aim of an elite athlete generally. They say they want to entertain. That's taking it a step further. Oh, I want to produce erections in other 35-year-old men. Mate, the thing that made that, I think you've nailed that really well. It's not just any old 24 off 16. We see players finish with 24 off 16 regularly. It's in the context of a runner ball match to do that. And as we were watching the game, as it was kind of unfurling itself, heading towards the denouement, we sort of felt like Australia's managing this chase as though it's as though that player can come in and hit at strike at 160, strike at 210 to finish the game, except that there was nothing in that particular game that led you to think that anyone could do that. All of the players that came before were unable to do it. Everyone was at a run and ball. So for 36 to 37 overs of the match, we were looking at conditions where it was really difficult to hit a boundary or to hit a six. Yeah. And so against that backdrop, Australia was kind of, Australia was like, oh, I hope someone else can do this. I hope someone else can do this. It was not only Stoinis, it was Matt Wade as well, who finished 15 off 10. 15 off 10 is a really good innings. For Wade to come in and do that when he does not bat in that position really ever, it's such a specialist role. For Australia to actually win the game with two guys sort of outperforming themselves in those positions is very, very heartening for a side who've traditionally been really poor at that area of the game. So, and God, Stoinis has saved his mate Langer as well. That was really heading towards a crushing defeat in the circumstances. So he's bailed out JL hard. Well done to Stoinis and well done to Matt Wade.
Now, can you imagine how many more people would have watched if Australia didn't chase 118, watch this video?
Hell yeah.
So it's actually a real shame.
Massive shame.
That, Van der Dussen didn't get one off the square. I can just imagine Steve Smith just running in the field and celebrating with Stein and just laughing in his face and saying, the main Tanner,
I'm sure you can, mate. Yeah. I mean, once you see it, it's really hard to unsee with Steve Smith. We all celebrate in our own ways. Fair play to him. Steve Smith, 35 off 34. That the game needed that. That kind of innings enabled risks, to be taken for Stoinis and Wade. So that was a good innings as well from Steve Smith.
Yeah, true. Stoinis he's celebrating. No beers, obviously, because there's a game just around the corner.
Course,
but straight in that tanning bed and just doing what he does best. He is actually the main Tanner. Let's get into the third thing. Let's talk about the England West Indies game, Pez. This was a fucking dominant display from England, but it's hard to also. No, it's not hard. It's actually quite easy to just talk about and praise England. But let's talk about how bad the West Indies were. I mean, that was it wasn't a disgraceful effort, but it was pitiful. That performance from West Indies was pitiful in the sense that there is no wicket in international cricket where 55 is acceptable. You know, like even in T20, I know a lot can happen, but you look at the shot selections for a team that now this is, I suppose, part of the West Indies thing, and maybe with Pakistan as well, is that like their ceiling is so high, and you know their tactics, I suppose, with the West Indies is there are guys in their team from like 1 to 9 who can come off, and if 2 guys come off, they get that to sort of 140, and that's a really hard chase. But there has to be some sort of leadership in that dressing room where it's like, let's just try and get a score on the board of let's make England chase 110. You know, and like just some of the bowling was excellent, and Adil Rashid takes 4 for 2 off 2.2 or some shit like that. Fucking unbelievable. You know, Tamal Mills bowl really well. I thought Works really good lengths as well into the deck, but
another one where every bowler is going to look like they've bowled well when a team's rolled for 55.
Yeah. Who got him? Who got him in the end? But you know, and then with the run chase, actually was funny because I think it was Hayden Walsh Jr. at backward square. He almost took an absolute hanger off Morgan, I think it was, which would have made it 40 for 5. And something in my head was like, that would have been interesting, but well, they just would have won 5 down. But you know, it's obviously hard to bat at the moment in the UAE, and people teams are still finding their feet. But I don't know, West Indies, that's fucking disappointing. That was a huge game, and they have not turned up. Thoughts?
Thanks. Yeah. This was the biggest game of this group. This is the game between the two highest ranked teams. I know it comes early in the tournament, so you get the feeling that teams might want to feel their way in, whatever the hell that means. But it's a pretty decisive game, given that West Indies come into the tournament as an a good outside chance when they get it together. And so the nature of the defeat is worrying, I think. Like, England are a very good side, but when, as you were saying, like when you might get off to a poor start, but just to keep going with it and to completely capitulate to the point where there is no match. You know, you don't jammy your way to 110 in the way sort of South Africa did, I guess, to keep yourself in it in case it's tough to bat. They just completely fell over. You used the word disgrace. You know, we'd be saying that if it was an Australian side. I noted it was Darren Sammy, I think, on Twitter said, well, at least they've got their bad game out of the way, whatever that means. But 55 is, you know, West Indies on a side where it's like, oh, you know, it's snakes and ladders with them. You know, they either come up with 200 or 55. That's a worrying sign. Good signs for Australia. Good news for me, as Eric would say on Billy Madison. And you know, fair play to England that when you bowl a team for 55, your bowler's going to look good, and so they did. And Adil Rashid getting some good purchase. What a bowler! Great to see the wrong uns coming out, getting 3 guys. Went through Andre Russell, which made Andre Russell look like a park player with that delivery. Yeah.
Hey, his feet were everywhere, Russell, with that ball, wasn't it? Because it wasn't actually a wrong, and it sort of came out the front of his hand like a slider, I think.
That's right.
But
the old Shane Warne Zuta.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, if Rashid started calling his deliveries names, he would have more mystique about him. You know,
and he should do that.
Instead, he's just he should do that. It's actually PR play, so I'm not sure who's looking after England's PR, and specifically Adil Rashid. But yeah, I mean, fuck England. That's as good a win in for an opening game that you could get, and like they're the number 1 ranked team in the world. You know, who knows what rankings mean, but I mean, fuck, that's good. I sort of look at the other like Group 2. Fuck me, that is a significantly weaker group. And I know there's a huge game tomorrow night in the football between Liverpool and Man United, and I think Afghanistan and Bangladesh play. They're in the same group. No, they're not. But the joke still works. But you know, I mean, I guess Pakistan could do something. I mean, New Zealand aren't a great T20 team. I mean, India's just going to cruise that group. But the point that my point I'm trying to make is if you finish top of this group in Group 1, so if England finish top, they're going to get a Pakistan or a New Zealand probably in a semi-final, and that's a significantly easier game than, well, it's probably the easier game of any of the semi-finals you're going to get, I would have thought. So so they're a huge chance. So I'm already saying England are going to make the final. So that's well done to them.
It's just one day of the tournament, you know. It's like, and that form.
What happens now will happen forever.
And that's exactly right. And that's probably the best way to look at T20 as well, is like extrapolate the form from one game, and you can actually just apply that to the rest of the tournament, and you'll find it pretty much holds up.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why KKR made the final in the IPL. That was actually quite an easy thing to predict. And they were definitely the second best team in the tournament. All right, Pez. Sorry, go on.
No, that's all. It's an England-Australia final, it seems.
5-0. Hashtag AskTGC brought to you by ACO, our very dear friends in ACO, and thank you for their support last night and doing the stream. And thank you for you guys out there watching the stream. I think it was about 100,000 people watched that bad boy last night, so not bad. Now, it's obviously a huge game tonight, India, Pakistan. We're not doing a stream for that, but we're doing this show. It will be in person as well tomorrow. For that one to wrap up the morning after World Cup. We need a catchier name for that, Pez. Maybe drop it in the comments below if you have an idea of what we should call this thing, and we'll reject it. But it's actually just a way to get algorithm going, so more people watch it. Sort of just how it works. Well, so keep that in mind.
If I could just add it in there as well, if you do a really good idea or whatever, I'll probably just change it a little bit so it doesn't look like your idea. You get no acknowledgement for it either, but thank you in advance for good brain work and whatever.
I'll pretend I haven't seen it, but I actually read every single comment, and then I sort of it goes in my brain. I sort of process that. What does that mean? What's he saying there? Okay, hashtag I see this. So I'm reading my notes again from the back of my eyelids. This one comes in by Twitter, Pez. Dennis Beers. Denise Beers. Oh, anyway. PNG rocking the baggy at T20 World Cup. Fucking rate that at great cricket. Is this their attempt to join the spotlight of the Asian century? At what point does a socio-cultural norm bending transform it into the Southeast Asian century? Hashtag AskTGC. Interesting question. Of course, PNG have crashed. They've crashed out of the World Cup. They didn't get a chance to feel their way in.
I thought they were dumped. dumped out.
Dumped?
Whatever it is, it's got to be aggressive.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, they just
anyway,
failed
they
to
weren't
qualify.
baggies.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah. Look, a few things to say about this. PNG's kit, fantastic. Love it. I'm not going to be like a kit virgin about stuff, but there's some good kits around, neither here nor there. You wouldn't find me fucking wearing one because that's some hard drive stuff, with respect to those who wear it. That's my honor. If you're gonna wear an ODI kit or a national team kit, just get nonce on the back with number 1. Decision pending nonce. Anyway, but that aside, hey, there's some good aesthetics going around yesterday. Like I like the UAE throws up the desert aesthetic. And Temba Bavuma was pulling that off. A couple of hats on there. I'm not going to get into the hat stuff as well. That's some non-stuff too, I think. But like a PNG's kit, really good. But just Dennis, great question. Can everybody stop trying to fuck around with this Asian century stuff? Like talk about Southeast Asian century, or is it Indian century? The white paper came out in 2010. It's the Asian century. Okay, whatever fits within that, well then, that's a political power play. Is Australia in Asia? That's the question Paul Keating asked. But then we found out that Paul Keating sits on one of the boards of the banks in China. So don't know. So yeah, I'm reluctant to say, just for diplomatic reasons, what role Papua New Guinea plays in it, and I also am a bit ashamed of my lack of knowledge about Southeast Asia generally. It speaks to all sorts of gaps and weaknesses in myself.
Yeah. I mean, thank God Kosovo aren't a team anymore, because that could have been throwing some real curveballs.
Yeah, thank God.
All right. Fuck me. All right. Couple of drinks last night. All right. Thank you so much for joining us as ever. Click subscribe, click like. Help more people see this video, and we'll be back tomorrow for the big one, Pez, the big dance, the biggest game that there's been in, I don't know, since the last big one or whatever, but we're back tomorrow morning. Who's going to win? I know who's going to win because I've already seen it, because I've sort of got some inside knowledge there about the teams and the wickets and that. All right, I'm going to stop talking. See you tomorrow.